Have you ever wondered, what if something actually happens to your advisor? What happens to your money? Well, by the end of this video, you will gain clarity for your personal retirement plan and have action items to secure your retirement.
To learn more about securing your retirement and all the different elements you need to know, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post a video every Monday. We have helped hundreds of our clients gain clarity and get on the path to a comfortable and happy retirement. Now it's your turn. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Retirement in Action. Today, we're going to tackle a question that we get asked, I would say, probably about 90% of the time whenever we've got a person coming to work with us as a new client. And ultimately, the question is, what happens to my money if something happens to you, the advisor? And so, Merce and I, we work together. And so the only way that this really kind of can occur is something happens to Merce and I together. And so we try to dream up the worst case type scenarios. So you probably are, if you're sitting here listening, you're probably thinking to yourself, what is that? Well, we've got that famous line that people say, what happens to my money if you get hit by a bus? Meaning it's obscure. It's not likely, but what happens if all of a sudden you die? What happens to my money? Or what if you retire? What if you decide you're going to retire and, you are going to stop doing this business? Then what happens to my money? And those are legitimate questions. And we talk that through with folks just so that they can feel comfortable with what's happening and what's occurring. But what we wanted to do today is just kind of take you through that conversation as if you were one of our clients or if you were looking to work with someone like us. And this conversation, by the way, that we're about to have is the exact same kind of conversation you would have no matter who you're working with, because our logic and our answers pretty much are the same almost across the board. So let's just get started. So Merce, can you kind of take us through, first of all, helping people to visualize where the money's at and the connection with that money to an advisor?
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it, is understanding really how you're set up and where the money is being held, right? So if you go and you work with us, right, we're Peace of Mind Wealth Management. That's our company, but you've never written a check to Peace of Mind Wealth Management. You've never handed us cash or anything like that. There's no money. There's no investments that are held with Peace of Mind Wealth Management. Just like if you were to go work with any other independent advisor, whatever their name is, you're never typically writing it to that company. You're just really assigning them or appointing them as your advisor on your account. And so the account is typically held at what we call a third party custodian. So for us, that's Charles Schwab. For others, it may be TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, Vanguard, wherever it is, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, Wells Fargo. These are all custodians that can house your money, right? And then the custodians are they have a very important role. They house the money. They are running the compliance behind it. And then they're also doing what you want to do, which is the investment side. So they are facilitating the trades. So Radin and I, we're not creating the funds or anything like that. We are facilitating the trade as the advisor. So we are telling Schwab, in this case, we're telling them how we want to trade our clients' accounts. So the money ultimately is at the custodian, the Schwab. So I think that's really important to understand, because sometimes, it feels like when you're working with an independent advisor like us, it's hey, you guys are just a small company, and what happens if something happens to the company, or even more importantly to the advisors that I've entrusted my money with. Well, there's a whole story as to what happens if that does happen. And so at the end of the day, if you don't listen to any more of this podcast, know that your money is not with us or the advisor, it's with the custodian. And it's within those investments where your money is actually placed. So let's say you're at Charles Schwab and you've got a bunch of different ETFs. Your money is facilitated through Schwab, but your money is actually in those investments. So I'll let Radin kind of take it from there and say, understand what that means. And then I think it's really important to understand how teams are set up so that if you do get that question, or you do ask that question of, hey, what happens if you die? Well, you can have an expectation of what their answer is going to be.
Yeah, usually this question occurs if somebody is working with, let's say, somebody like a Wells Fargo or a Morgan Stanley or a Smith Barney, and the perception is, oh, this is a big company, or an AG Edwards, something like that, where they're basically going, oh, this is a huge company, and so there's multiple advisors. If something happens to this one, then I'm going to go to the next advisor. And that's true, by the way. But you need to understand how teams, and I say that way because that's the way they're structured, these larger wirehouses, is that they are set up as teams, kind of like within the umbrella of, let's say, a Morgan Stanley, are teams of advisors, and they have their team that they work with. So if something happened to your main advisor that you had, you're going to get reassigned to another advisor. Nothing's happening to your assets. You just got to now all of a sudden got a new advisor within the team. Maybe you even moved to a new team because that team was dependent on that main advisor. So now you get a call and the person says, hi, I'm, whoever, I'm your new advisor. Now at that point, you have to make a decision. Do I like the new advisor? Well, independent advisors, and that's what the category we fall in, and that's one of the fastest growing parts of the financial services world, are independent advisors, not under the umbrella of something like a Morgan Stanley or a Wells Fargo. But we also operate as a team. So, as a team, what our goal is to continue to grow the team so that there is longevity there, which means we hire multiple advisors. We continue to grow our team so that if something happens to one advisor, you basically are working with the remaining part of the team. But you always are going to have the decision to make. Do I want to work with that team without that advisor in play? If they got hit by a bus, if they retired, at that point, nothing happened to your money. You just have to make a decision. Do I want to continue to work with this new advisor or this new team or this condensed team of people that I'm working with? But nothing happened. It's just a decision to make. And so if you just say, hey, I don't like this new structure, well, you can move your money wherever you want to move your money. You can move it to a new team somewhere else. You go out and you go shopping and you have to figure out a new team. But there's nothing negative going to occur whether you're working with an independent or whether you're working with a larger institution like we've talked about. So just realize that, yeah, something happens. Somebody gets hit by a bus. That person's not going to be here, but your money is safe. Your money is in the location of the custodian. It's not messing with you as far as your money is concerned. So let's kind of walk through these scenarios. What happens if the main advisor dies? Well, let's just kind of walk through these scenarios here. First of all, you're going to get a new advisor. That's just the facts. The guy got hit by a bus. The guy or lady got hit by a bus. You're going to get a new advisor. You're going to have what if you don't like the new advisor? Can you walk us through that, Merce? Let's just take that slowly through. You all of a sudden get a phone call. Radon got hit by a bus. Merce was with him. So both of us got hit by a bus. And now you get a call and say, we now have taken over the team for Radon and Merce. Now, walk us through the options. How would that work logistically speaking?
Yeah, logistically, really what it comes down to is, so you're going to get that phone call. They're going to tell you the story of what happened to your current advisors. They say, we've been assigned to your account, right? They've been assigned to your account, but that doesn't mean you have to accept the fact that they've been assigned to the account. So what the client would probably say is, well, I'd like to meet you. I'd like to understand what you're all about. And so you kind of go through that process all over again. You're learning about someone brand new, right? They're brand new to you. You're brand new to them. They just know that they have a position to be in control or to help you out with your money. So you go and you get to know them. And then that's where you kind of get to decide, do they make sense? We go back to, you should always work with someone you're comfortable with. So are you comfortable in that conversation? Philosophy is very important. There's a lot of different investment strategies out there. So does his or her philosophy match up with what you had with the previous advisor? I'll tell you what's nice about the team approach or the team setup is, if you have multiple advisors in one office and something happens to one of them, usually the philosophy at the very least is still identical. It's still the same. So you're not having to be worried about, oh, am I going to have to change my entire strategy? It's just, oh, do I like this new person? The strategy is still the same because it's the same firm, same team construct. So you're not so worried about that. But sometimes that changes. If you're at the bigger shops like the Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, and one team retires or the main advisor passes away or whatever it is, and you get assigned to another team, they could have a whole different way of operating. So like Radon was saying, it comes back to you're left with the decision to make. Do you like the person? Do you like the strategy? And do you stick with them, or do you go elsewhere? We've had conversations with clients, or not clients, but people that we do not work with currently, and they're happy with their advisor, but they know that that advisor is essentially on his way out in the sense of being ready to retire. And so they've struck up the conversation with us primarily just to start that relationship, saying, hey, I know my guy that I like, that I've entrusted for the past 20, 30 years. He's planning on retiring in the next couple of years. And he has told me, go start shopping around. And so that's what I'm doing right now. So I have no intention with working with you right now, but I want to get ahead of the game for when he does retire. So very, very similar deal there. So, it comes down to, at the end of the day, your decision as to what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I was going to hit on the retirement one too, is that the retirement one's usually a bit different. And there's a couple scenarios to think through on that. I personally have not met or know of a scenario where somebody wakes up in the morning at 7 o'clock and goes and tells everybody at 9 o'clock that they're decided to retire today, and everybody's about to be shocked. The reality is, we plan that. An advisor would plan that. They would say, and usually they're doing that over a number of years. So in a retirement scenario, usually the clients are going to have a long time setup, knowing that their advisor is going to retire. There's a couple of ways that can happen. They could sell the practice. They could sell their firm to a bigger or a different firm, and you're going to get a whole new team. A lot of advisors, though, don't want to do it that way. Their goal is to develop a team that they would then move out of that team, and the current in-house team would take over, and then that advisor, the older long-term advisor, would then retire out of the team. But the clients have worked with the team that's been built for years. And so from their perspective, they just got the main or the older advisor who eventually gets out of the business if that's what occurs. So don't stress about the retirement. If you want to stress about the bus, don't stress about that. Here's what I tell you to do. Ask your current advisor if you're concerned, or a new advisor if you're interviewing them, what is their continuity plan? And then that way you'll know, this is their plan. This is what they're building. This is their structure. And that doesn't matter whether they're at Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, doesn't matter. Wherever they are, ask that question. What's your continuity plan for your team? What's your continuity plan as to how that's going to play out? And we're always glad to share that with them. First and foremost, I never, ever get in front of buses. So the idea is, though, if we decide that we're going to go down some, path and something were to occur, then we got to have a plan in place. We have a plan in place. And so I think most advisors have some kind of a plan in place. But we hope that's at least given you a little bit of comfort, a little bit of understanding that your money's not being housed by the advisors, being housed by a custodian. So if something happens to your advisor, you just got to make a new decision on whether or not you want to stay with the one who's been assigned, or if you want to go somewhere else. As we say always, though, if you have listened to this and you have questions or whatever, feel free to go to our website. You can schedule a 15-minute phone conversation. We're glad to talk to you. But until then, we'll talk to you on Monday with our expert interview.
We hope this video has given you some confidence and clarity as you plan for a worry-free life in retirement. But what else do you need? We have created a complimentary video course called 3 Keys to Secure Your Retirement. This video walks you through step by step what you need to do to get ready for retirement. You can also check out our podcast called Secure Your Retirement. You can subscribe below.
For more retirement tips, watch this video. Create your retirement income plan. Also, click here to subscribe to our podcast, Secure Your Retirement. If you like this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends.